So there is a minor problem with corals lately, and this is called coral bleaching. So remember I mentioned the term symbiotic relationship. So that's kind of like a friendship, so they benefit from each other. There's these little things that live on coral. They're called algae, and they benefit from the coral because it gives them a place to live. And the coral benefit from the algae because that's how they get their food. And if the waters in the ocean, they get really, really hot, it's going to stress out the algae and they're going to move away from the coral. So this is bad for the coral because they're not going to have the food that they need. And it's bad for the algae because they're losing their place to live. So when this happens, the coral is actually going to turn white and it's going to lose its color. And it's called bleached coral. The next zone is called the twilight zone. Plants can't grow here, but is below the sunlit zone between 600 feet to 3,300 feet. Less sunlight is able to reach the twilight zone. As we move further and further away from the ocean surface, less light will be reaching the water, and this is why it is so cold the deeper down you go. Many animals migrate between the twilight zone and the sunlit zone to search for food, like the sperm whale and the swordfish. Sperm whales are also very big. Other twilight zone animals include crustaceans like crabs, starfish, dragonfish, and viperfish. The last zone is the midnight zone, and it is below the twilight zone, extending about 3,300 feet down. The entire depth of the ocean is about 13,000 feet. At this depth, no light can reach, and the water reaches close to freezing in temperature. But it could also get really warm, and we'll see that in a minute. Animals here have adapted in many ways to this because it is so cold and dark. A lot of animals have this trait called bioluminescent in parts of their body, which means they can produce light on their bodies by special processes. They can use this to attract mates or prey, or they can use it to scare it off. So this is a jellyfish with certain bioluminescence or colors throughout the tentacles. And then this is a small octopus. It actually lights up its head. The ocean floor has mountains, trenches, and flat areas just like land does. In some places on the sea floor, there are vents that give off heat and chemicals. Bacteria feed on these chemicals, and other animals use the bacteria for food. This means these vents can provide an ecosystem for different living things like the tube worms right here and deep sea crabs. These are called yeti crabs. This also means the deep sea can support an entire food chain that doesn't start with the sun's energy. So that's a bunch of yeti crabs over these vents. Fangtooth and the umbrella mouth gulper have such large mouths that they can grab anything coming their way. And the vampire squid has very large eyes to allow light to pass through. It actually looks like an umbrella when it puts its tentacles out. And lastly, threats to the ocean. Most of the earth is covered by seas and oceans, but they are changing because of human involvement. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The garbage in our communities a lot of the time end up in oceans through sewer drains that lead to the ocean. And many cruise ships have been known to dump hundreds of pounds of trash in the ocean, and it's very illegal. We now have islands of trash floating in the ocean, harming the environment. So this is just showing you how big this garbage patch is. It's showing you it's bigger than all the United States. That's the continent we live on. So this is about 80,000 tons of garbage. And a lot of it is plastic. The next threat is overfishing. Overfishing means taking out more fish than fish are naturally able to reproduce. So fish do have to make babies, and when the fish are being taken out in mass amounts at a time, a lot of fish at one time, almost every single day, they're not going to be able to replace themselves. This leads to a decline in birds that depend on certain fish because they won't have food. Shark, bluefin tuna, and Atlantic salmon are at risk of being endangered. So sometimes boats take two really big nets on either side, and these nets are going to pick up any and all fish that are swimming in its path. Oh, this was just a little joke. It says, well, that leaves just the two of us until they drop the net again. But it's really sad because this is the big picture of what happens with overfishing. This is showing you all the fish that are being caught, and it's very unnecessary. Another threat to the ocean is oil spills. This means when oil spills, it covers marine plants and animals with a layer of oil. This prevents them from receiving oxygen correctly and regulating their body temperature. And oil does not mix well with water, so it's very hard for these animals to get this oil off their body. And this is a picture of two different otters with a lot of oil on them. This is a bird. And this is a happier picture because you see all these birds on the left are covered in oil, but on the right they are all cleaned, and that must have taken a very long time to clean them. This is the exciting part. 6 easy ways you can help the oceans. I believe all of you guys can do this. Learn more about oceans and marine life. And I am always open to giving you more information on oceans. Keep local water clean. Don't litter. Go on a litter pickup walk with a trash bag and gloves. Don't interfere with wildlife. Earth is their home too. Turn off water when you don't need it. And get your own reusable water bottle. I know in the picture with the garbage patch, there was a lot of plastic water bottles all over the water. So it's really helpful if you get your own reusable water bottle. And so you can just get water from the sink and you don't have to keep using these plastic bottles. So this is the end of it. There is so much more to learn about the oceans and the earth in general. If you guys are on YouTube, I highly recommend you start following BBC Earth and watch Blue Planet and Blue Planet 2 because you'll discover so much more about the oceans, a lot more than I had in this presentation. So I hope to talk to you soon.